I just did a video talking about Rachel Campos-Duffy and the comments that she made as it related to Mauricio Garcia down in Allen, Texas, and what he did, and how those were very Dub-esque like statements that she made because they were very stereotypical, and we knew exactly who she was talking about without even knowing who the shooter was at the time before it eventually came out. I bet she ain't say nothing since then either. But I'm here to talk about Rachel again because she made some comments in reference to when Biden made the commencement speech at Howard University commencement ceremony this past Saturday. Well, not this past Saturday, but about 2 Saturdays ago. Now, before I get into this, I know I didn't make a video talking about Joe Biden's comment at that commencement ceremony, but y'all could pretty much already guess what I was going to say. But if you didn't already know, I'm going to say it right here. What he said, we already knew. Okay, as a matter of fact, I said something on Twitter. I had said when I first found out Biden was a commencement speaker, I said I can only imagine what he's going to say. And when he said what he said, I'm like, Joe Biden, you're not telling us anything we don't already know. You're basically preaching to the choir, and it's very interesting considering you're the one that said it. I even went on to say, has he ever said this at a PWI? I had some shills come into the comment section, whether true or not, I'm not entirely sure. They say he has said this at PWIs, but even if he did say it there as well, again, you're preaching to the choir. We already know that the biggest threat in this establishment is Dub-S. It's a global threat when you think about it because it's a global system. We just had somebody overseas I talked about a few weeks ago that said that he believes that every white man in the world should have a black slave, or at least the ones over in London where he's at, and he's over in London. I guess Rachel missed that memo because Rachel basically went on to say that America is the least racist country in the world. Rachel must know this from experience for her to make this bold statement. She must have went to every country in the world to make this claim. Now I'm going to go ahead and read what it says on Rolling Stone. She said Fox News was not happy with President Joe Biden's commencement address to Howard University, which one Fox host called pandering, and led another to declare America the least racist country in the world. Now, I will give them this. I truly believe that Joe Biden was pandering when he said what he said at Howard University, because he said it at an HBCU. Most of the graduates there were black. So that was very easy for him to say it there. That's why I had said, has he ever said this at a PWI? Some of his shills who love him so much said that he has. I said, I need to see some kind of documented proof or video of that actually happening, because the reason why I say that is because they pushed him saying that out there on that video, but I've never seen them push out a video of him saying that at a PWI if he has spoken at a PWI for their commencement, which he probably has. But I haven't seen a video where that's been pushed out there. And truly, to be honest, with him being the president, if he did say it at a PWI, they would have put that out there and we would have all seen it. But we've only seen the one at Howard. So I'm finding it very hard to believe. So unless someone can produce that, he's definitely pandering. And like I said, even if he did say this at a PWI, he's still pandering. Again, you're preaching to the choir. You're telling us something we already know. But let me go on with the article. Racism has long torn us apart, Biden told the crowd during his speech in the historically black university in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. It's a battle that's never really over. The president then called white supremacy the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland and added, I'm not saying this because I'm at a black HBCU. That right there should have told you something right there. He said at a black HBCU. The B in HBCU is black, historically black college university. That's like saying I'm at a white PWI. The W stands for white. But then, you know what? Let me continue. I say it wherever I go. Okay. Biden has made efforts to combat white. Now, this is the part where Rolling Stone lost me because I kind of glimpsed at the article, but listen to what Rolling Stone just said. Biden has made efforts to combat white supremacy during his administration, including a national strategy to counter domestic terrorism, including racially or ethnically motivated violent extremism. But his statement at Howard clearly ruffled some feathers at Fox. I'm trying to figure out what efforts did he make? How many bills that, I'll just ask this one question. Where's the anti-black hate crime bill that he signed? What that he didn't sign for us, but he signed for the the Asian American, that he made the anti-Asian hate crime bill. He signed for them. That's the only question that needs to be asked. Where is that bill? Joe Biden. Oh, that's right. It's probably still on the desk collecting dust. If it's even on a desk, shoot, it may not even be in a file cabinet. It's probably written in invisible ink for all we know. It's floating in the atmosphere. So that's the only question I have to ask right there. I mean, when it comes to reparations, I don't even have to ask about that. I'm asking something real simple. Where's the anti-black hate crime bill at? Weren't they supposed to be doing some kind of Emmett Till based bill, which I guess would have been coded as the anti-black hate crime bill? But where's that at? What happened to the George Floyd one? Where's that at? Again, there's so many bills they could have signed and done, but they haven't. But they'll do something for the Asian community. They've been doing something for the academy. And right now they're doing something for the illegal immigrants. And they don't even have a bill. They're just giving them a place to stay, eat. It's almost like prison. 3 hots in a cot. Except they not living on no damn cot. Everyone, because it was so naked, could see what an obvious pander, one host commented. This is clearly a battle that helps him politically, host Rachel Campos-Duffy said. I think it's so cynical. I think it's actually evil to lie about America. That is not America. America is not racist. America is the least racist country in the world, in the whole world, which is why we have right now people clamoring to get into our country. That's just a fact. Let's break down what she just said here. One part I will say I agree with her on is that was a political ploy. A lot of the stuff that a lot of people do when it comes to politics is politically based. They want to get votes. They know that it's election time. 2024, Joe Biden's trying to get reelected, and there's other people that's trying to get in to replace him. Let's not sit here and pretend that a lot of these other people, these other politicians or politicians, as I like to call them, don't pander either. They may not pander to us, but they pander to other people. Look at Vivek Ramaswamy. This guy literally stood in a room and told black people's business to a bunch of people that wasn't even black. Was that not pandering? You got Rhonda Snowflake down in Florida signed an AAPI, making it mandatory for schools to teach AAPI history in their schools, and creating this Stop Woke Act and anti-CRT of this and CRT that. Is that not pandering? I could go on and on and on. Politicians are going to pander no matter what side of the spectrum they are on. So for them to make it seem like it's a one-sided thing is absurd. She then says that I think it's actually evil to lie about America. What's being lied about? White supremacy is a thing in America. It's a thing across the globe. She sounds just like what Kamala Harris said and what Tim Scott said when they said America is not a racist nation. Or they'll say that, oh, it's not Jim Crow anymore. It's no segregation anymore. It's integrated now. All this type of stuff. That doesn't mean a thing. You're basically putting a Band-Aid over a flesh wound to try to mask it as it not being that. You just had Mauricio Garcia a couple weeks ago had Nazi tattoos and different white supremacy ideologies all up and through on his body and in his mental, go out and commit a mass murder because of his beliefs. You had Jack Teixeira, I think that's his name, the one who leaked those documents from the Pentagon, literally come out of his mouth and say that he wanted to start a race war. So don't sit up here and try to confuse us or try to lie. Not even lie to us, you lie to yourself, but try to insult our intelligence and say that America doesn't have a race problem. It does. No matter how much you try to mask it. It's amazing how, how when Pinocchio lied, the nose grows? The more they lie, the more issues seem to come and seem to happen. But see, the thing is, because it doesn't touch them and it doesn't affect them, that's why they want to say that America doesn't have a race problem or America is not a racist nation. But then if something happens to them, then they want to cry and grovel and bitch and complain and then expect us to feel bad for. I don't feel bad. If something happens to or someone close to Rachel, I'm not going to feel a damn thing. I'm going to just sit back and play the damn violin. I'm waiting for a Triple P moment to come for her. She says that is not America. America is not racist. I don't have to go more into that. I just kind of already did. She said America is the least racist country in the whole world, which is why we have right now people clamoring to get into our country. I highly doubt they're doing that because it's, in your opinion, the least racist nation in the world. They are here with other ulterior motives. One of the major one is to flood black neighborhoods. Has Rachel not seen what's going on right now in Chicago? I find it interesting that they like to talk about Chicago when it comes to quote unquote black on black crime, but they don't want to talk about Chicago when it talks about how a lot of the legal immigrants are being flooded into black neighborhoods in Chicago. But what they'll do is they'll use it to throw back on the black people and say, oh, well, this is what you voted for. I find that very interesting. Now, wouldn't that be interesting, Rachel, if they started to say, I don't know, send the illegal immigrants into your neighborhood? Because we know you don't live around black people. We know that for a fact. You might say you have a black neighbor. Okay, is the neighbor living next door to you, or do they live like around the corner in the sector or in that square on the opposite side? And then you call them your neighbor. I bet something just tells me she's one of them type of people. But back to the, illegal immigration. They get sent here and they get flooded into black communities. As a matter of fact, if y'all remember, they tried to put some illegal immigrants into, or as I like to call them, the south of the Bordarians, but I don't want to really say that because it's more than just them, even though it's mainly them, into Martha's Vineyard. They gave them a sandwich and put them on that bus and turned that bus right back around and said, go that way. I think I had read somewhere where some people was getting upset with Eric Adams because they were starting to put them in their neighborhoods. Yes, see, it's no fun when they get put there, but we know why they're getting put here. So one could argue that, yeah, it's some racial component there, because why aren't they sending them to any other neighborhood? Especially in neighborhoods where there are people that look and identify as them. Interesting, right, Rachel? And I think Rachel is one of them people. So, Rachel, you should be trying to open your neighborhood up and let them come and stay around you, if you ask me. But let's not sit here and pretend that there's not a racial issue that is going on clearly within this establishment. Just because it doesn't seem to touch you doesn't mean that it's not touching others. But I wouldn't expect her to believe that because she has a very selfish nature about herself. If it ain't about Rachel or people close to Rachel, then Rachel don't give a fuck. And that's fine, Rachel, because we don't give a fuck about you. The feeling is mutual. Let's continue. Campos-Duffy's claim is patently ridiculous and completely ignores factors such as climate change, food insecurity, violence, and lack of economic opportunities that are driving immigration. What the left wants to do to restart race challenges in our country, host Pete Hegseth chimed in. DEI is divide, exclude, and indoctrinate. They want us to not get along when our default right now as Americans is to want to love each other, want to work together, want to be together. That is a crock of shit. You see the lies that they tell themselves and then they tell their audience and they expect us to just believe it. Now, mind you, this is coming from Fox News. Now, that quote didn't come from her. That came from her co-host. Because I think they on that Fox and Friends. I think that's the name of the show that they're on. It's like a 3-person panel. And she's the only woman on there. But you see that Fox News is nothing more than one big giant echo chamber. Like literally, if you looked at one Fox News show, you looked at them all. So if you looked at their show every day, you wouldn't need to watch anything else because everyone else is going to say the same goddamn thing. They're going to regurgitate the same bullshit. But that could be the same could be said for these other networks as well. And can you imagine that, CNN is starting to do that pivot? So now they're going to start sounding like Fox News. Could you imagine having two networks that sound exactly the same? I mean, I guess you could because CNN and MSNBC kind of sound the same, but then that's not going to be anymore because of that change that they're starting to make. That's why I said I can't remember the last time I watched any of these so-called net cable news shows, whatever. I really watched the new black media. I mean, that's my cleansing palette to get through the shit of the week. Moments later, the network turned to report on the legal defense fundraising efforts of Daniel Penny, I don't know what I said, Perry, the former Marine who put Jordan Neely, a black man in distress, into a headlock and killed him on the New York City subway, immediately exposing Hex's earlier statement that Americans just want to love each other for the blatant lie that it is. So I'm going to read what this tweet says. It says, Fox and Friends immediately pivots from bashing Biden as evil for describing racism as a major domestic threat to covering how Daniel Penny has raised $1.5 million for his legal defense. Now, of course, it's gone over $2 million since then. But yeah, notice how they pivot so fast. Like, he literally said in one breath, literally just one breath, how what Biden said at Howard's commencement was so divisive, but then praised Daniel Penny getting all this money. And you could thank Rhonda Snowflake for doing that, you know, endorsing it, because that's how that thing jumped up the way that it did. But yeah, I can't take any of these people seriously. I think I even read in another article somewhere, it was another article where Rachel was saying that Howard University students are some pretty dumb college kids if they believe the country is full of white supremacists. As a matter of fact, she did on another article called MediaMatters.org. She said that. She said that Howard University students are some pretty dumb college kids if they believe the country is full of white supremacists. I would love to know if, for instance, if people say, like they claim that Joe Biden said this at a PWI, would she say that about that school of students? If Joe Biden said that, would she say that about them? It's amazing. She immediately said Howard students are some dumb college kids if they believe that. Keep in mind, Howard's an HBCU, so it houses mostly black students. I highly doubt she would say what she just said to their face. I know she wouldn't say that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read to you one of the main quotes that she gave from this site. She said, but it's actually so I'm just going to say it. I think it's evil. It's evil to take a country as good as ours, a country that really, if you look at people's everyday interactions with other people of other races and cultures here in America, they're by and large 99.9% peaceful, loving people, want to live in America the way Martin Luther King, of course, she had to throw Dr. King in there, had it, where we don't see color, we look at other people's character. I swear, the lies they tell themselves and then they put out there as if it's true. We look, she said, that's who we are, and yet he, for political gain, because he has failed so much as a president and taken our country so down, he understands the only way he can win is to convince some pretty dumb college kids at that university, if they believe him, that it's a disservice if they believe that this country is full of white supremacists and that's our number one threat. But look, you saw in 2020, during those riots, a lot of people could be convinced that this is a racist country. So she already had called them dumb. Because I didn't know exactly how that quote fit into her actual statement until I read it. She already declared them to be dumb. She said he understands the only way he can win is to convince some pretty dumb college kids at that university, if they believe him, that it's a disservice that they believe this country is full of white supremacists. Like I said before, do I believe Joe Biden was pandering? Hell yeah. He did not have to tell them that this country is full of white supremacists. We already knew that. But she wants to sit up there and make it seem like it's not. That's why I can't wait for her wake-up call to come. And then, of course, she did the typical dub-ass thing of invoking Dr. King's name and bastardizing his message. They will hang off of that "I have a dream" speech. And I bet you know what? The ones who hang off of that can't even recite the whole speech. They don't get past a certain point and that's it. They cannot even recite the whole thing. You could probably throw the rest parts of the speech up on the screen and tell me and ask them to tell us what historian, not historian, or what person in history said this. And I bet you they would look at you like you got two heads, like you are a three-headed hydra. But I'm not surprised that she even did that. Rachel Campos-Duffy is a piece of work as well as a piece of shit. And again, this is not me defending Joe Biden at all. Like I said, he was preaching to the choir. He wasn't telling us anything that we didn't already know. But she accused those Howard students of being dumb if they believe that. Honestly, Rachel, many of them already knew that. So I'm guessing you really are calling them dumb. Wow. Like I said, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I am not. The fact that I'm doing the second video on Rachel in like less than a week or so means now she's officially on my radar. Again, I didn't know who the chick was a week and a half ago, but now I know. So now I'm going to be keeping my eye on this one. And I can't wait until her wake-up call comes. That's going to be sweet. And when her wake-up call does come, and I hope it's a slow, excruciating one as well, Rachel Campos-Duffy will indeed be sour. And let me remind Rachel and anyone else who wants to come out and say that America is not a racist nation or anything of the sort, remind them of what happened back in 2015 with this individual right here, Dylan Roof, when he went inside a predominantly black church in a predominantly black neighborhood and killed 9 black people, massacred 9 black people. Let's just get the context of it right. Fled the state and went to North Carolina when he led the cops on a high-speed chase where they captured him in North Carolina. And before taking him in, they took him to get something to eat at Burger King. I and many other people have never heard of any of them doing something like that before for anybody, before then or even after. And I know that there has been crime that has happened in South Carolina, as it happens in every state since Dylan Roof. Have there been any instances where they have taken any of their criminals before taking them in to a fast food spot to get just some fries or a drink? I highly doubt that. But they did it for him after he massacred 9 black people in a black church in a black neighborhood. So Rachel, when you say something of the sort of, oh, America isn't racist, we need to stop telling that lie, keep in mind this happened less than 10 years ago. I even gave more recent examples before that happened. After this one just happened a couple weeks ago, and that person had neo-Nazi white supremacy ideologies, and he could fall kind of in, I guess, in the category with you. That makes that even more interesting, which is why, again, she had to make that comment about fatherlessness and marijuana when the whole time Mauricio Garcia lived with both of his parents. He grew up in a 2-parent household. So that fatherlessness, we knew where she was coming from. So people should have peeped how she was when she said that. So it should be of no surprise when she made this recent comment.